For the first time since 2014, the best hockey players in the world are going back to the Olympics. NHL players will be representing their country, and we're getting best on best hockey. So let's dive into each country, who's a juggernaut, who isn't, all the rules, and what you can expect to see over the next 2 weeks. Let's cover everything you must know going into the 2026 Olympic hockey tournament. Now, quickly, here's how the tournament will work. There are going to be 12 countries divided into 3 groups of 4 for the preliminary round robin, where each team plays 3 games. Teams will qualify based on the 2023 IIHF World Ranking. It's also based on other Olympic qualifying tournaments, and you have the host nation in Italy. So in this tournament, we're going to have Canada, Finland, the United States, Sweden, Germany, Switzerland, Czechia, Slovakia, Latvia, Denmark, Italy, who's the host nation, and France. Now, you'll notice that there's no Russia, so the concept of a true best on best is still a big debate. They got the best damn winger in the world in Nikita Kucherov, the greatest goal scorer of all time in Alex Ovechkin, and the best goaltending depth of any nation in Sorokin, Vasilevsky, and Igor Shesterkin. But the IOC decided to uphold their ban on Russia for these Olympics, so France takes their place. Now, after the group stage, all 12 teams are re-ranked based on points, and the top 4 are going to be automatically advanced to the quarterfinals. The teams ranked 5 through 12 will compete in a qualification playoff game to reach the quarterfinals. Winners will progress to the semifinals, and then the bronze and gold medal games to decide final placings. Now, one other important note is if these games are tied after regulation, it goes into a 3-on-3 sudden death OT. In the preliminary round, the OT is 5 minutes, and in the playoff round, it's 10. If no goal is scored, it goes to a shootout where we can see another moment like we did in 2014 with TJ Sochi. But here's the thing, in the gold medal game, it is a 20-minute 3-on-3 overtime until there's a winner, so we could potentially see someone win the gold with 3-on-3 hockey. I totally forgot about this myself, but even in 2010, it was a 4-on-4 OT when Crosby scored the golden goal. The other important thing about these Olympics is the rink itself. It's going to be 3 feet shorter than a traditional NHL-size rink. We actually saw this type of rink already this year in an NHL game between Pittsburgh and Nashville over in Sweden, but the space that will be lost will be in the neutral zone, so that missing space will matter. Typically on a wider international ice that we've seen at other Olympics, teams will prioritize speed and skill to exploit east-west space, but with a more condensed surface, roster construction and tactics will probably shift towards a more checking style of game like we saw at the 4 Nations between Canada and the US. That being said, with the 12 countries in the mix, there is a very clear gap between some nations from the bottom and the top, so let's start with the underdog category, and kicking us off is my Cugino's in Italy. Yes, the Italians are in this tournament simply because they are the host nation. I can't believe I'm living in a time where they qualify for Olympic hockey and potentially don't qualify for the World Cup. That being said, Italy is going to be in one in this tournament. They have no NHL players on the roster. These are the bravest men going into the Olympics. They know they're going up against super teams. It would take a miracle run for Italy to shock the world and somehow end up in a medal round. That could potentially be one of the greatest hockey stories we've ever seen, but it is very, very, very unlikely. With some hot goaltending and some good structure, they could potentially upset a team like Germany or Denmark, but again, unlikely. They are the biggest underdogs in this tournament, but that's why we play the game. Anything can happen. Next is France. The French are bringing only one NHL player, and that is Alexander Texier, the Tex-Mex they call him. If any France game goes to a shootout, you can count on this guy pulling out the slippery one-handed tuck, just like a no-no with the fire stick poking away. Similar to Italy, though, they are pretty much in tough. They do got the 41-year-old Pierre-Edouard Bellemare, if you can remember him. He's a former Av and Lightning, 700 career games, 2 cup finals. He's a defensively sound player that'll likely play in all situations for France, but considering they're going up against super teams, France is not expected to make any noise. What they should do, though, is bring out Zinedine Zidane to come out for a couple of shifts and headbutt some guys at center ice to set the tone and then get kicked out of the tournament. For real though, like most underdogs, they're going to have to try and win a game by good structure and hope that their goaltender gets hot. Then we have Denmark. They're bringing 3 NHL players, and one of them being in the crease in Mr. Anderson himself. Fred X same-day delivery can steal a game if he has to, and with their decor having no current NHL players, he's going to have to if Denmark wants to make it into the quarterfinals. Denmark should have the best goaltender in every preliminary game except for their matchup against the United States. They also have Nick Ehlers and Oliver Bjorkstrand on the wings that will be their main contributors on offense, but without a true facilitator in the middle of the ice, offense will be very hard to come by. Their hope would be making it to the quarterfinals, and anything more than that would be a huge surprise. Next up is Latvia, and if you want to talk about a country that has a knack for making a favorite nervous in these tournaments, it is these guys. Last time there was a best on best in 2014 at Sochi, they gave Canada a heart attack after their goaltender Kristers Guzlevskis, I don't even know if I'm saying that right, he stopped 55 shots to keep it 1-1 until the third period, where Canada ultimately pulled through. But not only have they decided to bring that goaltender back, but they're also doing it with more NHL experience too, in Artur Shilovs and Elvis Merzlinkins in the crease for Latvia. It's no secret their strength is in goal, and it has the potential to carry them to an upset or two. They've had more success at the junior level as of late, but the Olympics are a whole new beast, so we'll see if we'll get any godlike performances from them this year. Up next is Slovakia. They got 7 NHLers coming, and the most notable are guys like Juraj Slavkovsky, Simon Nemec, and Eric Chernak. Slovakia's best players are the young guns who will play a bigger role than they do for their NHL teams. Slavkovsky is obviously the big one. At just 21, he's already been a dog for them internationally before, and if they want to make some noise, he will have to be again, but it's a different beast here with this competition. Slovakia also doesn't have any NHLers in the crease either, making an upset a little bit more difficult, but you never know who comes out of the woodwork to surprise us. Next up in the underdog category is Germany, and they have some lethal firepower sprinkled through their lineup. Up front, they got Timmy Stützle, JJ Peterka, and the best German-born hockey player of all time in Leon Draisaitl. Unlike some of the underdogs in this category, Germany has a true bona fide superstar. Draisaitl is a top 5 player in the league, maybe even better, and he can single-handedly take over a game by himself. I know Oilers fans aren't going to love hearing this, but he's probably going to be playing at least 26 to 27 minutes each game to give Germany the best shot at winning. On defense, they're still thin on NHL talent, but they do have the Mo Sheen himself, Mo Seider. He's become a bona fide #1 defenseman for Detroit. He can shut down some of the best in the world, and like Draisaitl, he's probably going to play half the game for Germany. They also have Seattle's Philip Grubauer in net, so despite them being underdogs, I do really like their weapons going up against some of the super teams in this tournament. Now, the last team in the underdog category is going to be Switzerland. Now, what I like about the Swiss is that they have some high-end talent on the back end. You have the former Norris Trophy winner in Roman Josi. They got JJ Moser, who's been one of the best D-men in the league this year for Tampa. And up front, they have some talent that can win games as well. You got the Devils captain Nico Hischier, who at his best is a Selke-level player. You also got Timo Meier and Kevin Fiala as well. To me, where they fall short is goaltending, and being in a group with Czechia and the Canadians, they're going to need to be flawless to go into the quarterfinals and potentially even deeper. Now let's move on to the contenders, and these are countries that if they get huge performances could actually win a medal outside of the big four or juggernauts in this tournament. And starting us off here is Czechia. They have come a long way the last few years. Their World Junior team currently owns Canada, and they have all the recipes to shock the world. You got high-end scorers in Marty Necas and David Pastrnak. I've never seen a player do more with less than Pastrnak this season. He's been one of the most productive wingers in the last few years, and when you look at who he's playing with on Boston this season, he's elevated everyone's game there. Playing for Czechia, I don't doubt that he's going to do the same. When you look at their goaltending, they can certainly steal games as well. They got Karel Vejmelka, who has low-key been one of the best goalies in the league this season. They also got Dan the Darth Vladar, and on top of that, they have Lucas Dostal of the Anaheim Ducks. They play a structured game that frustrates their opponents, and if their goaltender gets hot, look out. Now, the Czechs versus Canada have become one of hockey's newer rivalries, and if they pull off the unthinkable, it can go to a whole new level. Now, next on the contender category is going to be Finland. They're part of the Big Four, but they're just on the outside looking in because of one major loss, and that is Alexander Barkov. He's been hurt since the beginning of the year, and despite missing their captain and best player, the Finns are still an unbelievable team. More than anything, they always play a hard and structured game. You got UC Saros on goal too to win you a game if you need be, and on the back end, they have one of the best D-men in the world in Miro Heiskanen to carry the play. But no Barkov is a killer. Similar to his role with the Florida Panthers, he is the conscience of Finnish hockey. Missing him in the middle of the ice is going to hurt them in really big games against Sweden, Canada, or the States. The expectation is still a medal, and if they fall short, the biggest what if will be what could they have done if they just had Alexander Barkov. Now, diving into the favorites and heavyweights of this tournament, we're going to start off with Sweden. The Swedes' talent is off the charts. Defensively, they got Rasmus Dahlin, Victor Hedman, Erik Karlsson, Gustav Forsling. They are just completely stacked. Their goaltending is also stacked. They got the Minnesota tandem and the Wall of St. Paul and Jesper Wallstad, and Philippe Gustafsson as a solid 1-2. Up front, they are loaded as well. They've always played a more skilled and possession style of game that relies on more of an east-west style play rather than a north-south game that we've seen from countries like Canada and the States. On a smaller ice surface like we're going to see, it could hurt them with less space to operate with controlled possessions, but then again, if they can weather the pressure and use their skill to create openings, their style of play could be the very reason why they take gold. They are missing Leo Carlsson down the middle, which hurts them, but Sweden is without a doubt a juggernaut in this tournament. Next up is Team USA. They, without a doubt, have the best D-core in this tournament. Quinn Hughes himself can be considered the best defenseman in the world, and then right behind him right now is Zach Werenski, and they got both of those guys. They also have the best goaltending in the tournament as well. Connor Hellebuyck is the reigning Vezina Trophy winner, and even though he hasn't had a great year, you can still fall back on Jake Onger or Jeremy Swayman. All four forward lines are incredible for the States too. They're clearly aiming to play a tight north-south style of hockey, very similar to their play at the Four Nations. That's why they took guys like JT Miller and Vinny Trocheck over players like Cole Caulfield and Jason Robertson. They were painfully close to beating Canada last year, and so they're doubling down on that play style and roster coming into the Olympics. Anything short of a gold medal will be considered a failure, and we're going to see how it all plays out. Finally, we have the favorite going into this tournament and the country that has owned the game forever in Canada. Without a doubt, they have the best forward group in the tournament with guys like Connor McDavid, Nathan McKinnon, Sidney Crosby, and Macklin Celebrini all on one team. Their D-core can hang with the very best of them too, being led by one of the greatest defensemen, if not the greatest of this generation in Cale Makar. And similar to the United States, they're going to be playing a strong north-south style of hockey that allowed them to win at the Four Nations. Their Achilles heel is still their goaltending. It was the same story last year with Jordan Binnington, but then he put on one of the most clutch performances we've seen from a goaltender and found a way to get Canada the win. This year, Binnington has been statistically the worst goalie in the NHL. He's still on the team based on what he did last year, and it's entirely possible he locks in again to pull off some magic. If for whatever reason that isn't working, they can always go back to Logan Thompson, who has statistically been one of the better goaltenders in the league this season. But sometimes experience matters, and in moments as big as this, Canada may opt to go with the guy who's been there and done that for them. Now, Canada has owned hockey at the international level for a very long time, but if the World Juniors are any indication of what's coming, a lot of nations are starting to catch up. If Canada wants to maintain their name as a hockey powerhouse, there's no better way to do it than to win in gold. So that is everything you need to know going into the Olympics for men's hockey. Personally, being a Canadian myself, my heart wants to pick Canada, but my brain says that some way, somehow, Team USA finds a way to win gold. They got so close last year. I think I even had them beating Canada last year as well. I was wrong then. Maybe I'll be wrong again. Who knows? Now, we didn't get into women's hockey as it's already started, but there's even more of a clear drop-off after Canada and the US. Canada has won 4 of the last 5 gold medals in women's hockey, and those gold medal games between the US and Canadians have been some of the best hockey we've ever seen. So the expectation is that we're going to see it again, and if we do, buckle up for a hell of a game. Anyways, let me know who you think takes the gold medal at the Olympics and who you think is a dark horse to surprise everyone in the comments down below. We're going to be covering every single game throughout these Olympics, so make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so that you don't miss a single thing.